The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of our Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Yeah, I started from PBS Kids. What you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video. Listen. Y'all are not about to say black people that have albinism are not black. I simply want to not allow it. No! So on today's episode of why you should stop getting your education from people talking out their ass on Twitter and TikTok without fact checking, as I'm basically scrolling through my comment section on numerous videos of mine, because I like to see what the audience is saying, getting some insight on things. I may learn something that I don't know, because there are often times where you guys have taught me things in my comment section. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong watching what the readers have to say. Not readers, y'all are watchers. But it's just something that I have noticed when it comes to me talking about biracial characters and fictional characters, because one thing I've noticed is that a lot of y'all tend to think that biracial means half black and half white automatically, while somebody that is half black and half white is biracial. Not all biracial people are just black and white. Black and Asian people exist. Black and indigenous people exist. Asian and indigenous people exist. East Asian and South Asian people exist, y'all. Like, biracial is just not one fucking thing. That's why if somebody's being specific about what kind of biracial a person is, they're not technically wrong, because biracial basically is a term that means two different races. Biracial does not fucking mean black and white. But then also, it was another thing that I have come to the conclusion of, because either one, they stopped teaching y'all what the fuck the one drop rule was in school, because I learned that shit when I was still in K-12. Or two, you allowed somebody on the internet to convince you that it meant something else, when a simple Google search would have given you the answer to what the hell that term is. Because y'all don't know what the one drop rule really is, and how some of y'all don't know what biracial is either. That's okay. That is okay. Like, not everyone is fully educated on certain things, alright? And you're not gonna be fully educated on everything. That's completely normal. Like, I'll even take myself for example. I knew little to nothing about Hawaiian culture until I started following anuhea. I love them so much. Like, they are just like a little ray of sunshine for me. I adore them. But many of y'all may know anuhea from TikTok. I'll have their page like up on the screen somewhere so you guys can see it if you do recognize them. And they are very much informative on the things about their culture, because I have been doing more and more research about Hawaii, as anuhea is Hawaiian. But like, yeah, like, I'm taking myself as an example. I did not know much of anything about Hawaii until I started following and supporting anuhea. Like, I'm telling you, it's okay to not know about things, but do your research and learn about them before you try to go and say one thing is this and one thing is that, because that reminded me of the entire situation where people that didn't know shit about Hawaii were over here saying, oh, tourism helps Hawaii. No, it doesn't. The actual fuckers that live there will tell you that it does not help and it harms them. And today, for those of you guys who would like to know about the dark history behind the term one drop rule and how it has become bastardized, then keep on watching. Hey y'all, it's Harriyanna and I'm back with another video. Hi, hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Harriyanna and welcome back to The Pirate Ship, also known as Harriyannahook's Pirate Ship. I am the captain, you are not my first mate. I don't got no first mate, because you wanna know why? Bring y'all ear closer to the fucking speaker so you can hear me clearly. That was me. But anyway, nobody's worthy of being the first mate. But hi, hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Harriyanna and I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. Now, before we get started, a cute little announcement. Black Friday is coming up for my store, November 24th at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have so many cute things that are coming. You can get this damn Cat Noir do-rag that I have on right now. You can get it for half not half price, 40% off. Everything's going to be 40% off from that Thursday night to that Monday night. That entire weekend, everything in store was 40% off. And then also it will be a lot of products that will be getting restocked, as a lot of you guys like the miraculous ladybug bonnets I have. I am including new Cheetah Girls bonnets and do-rags, lots of cute new fun stuff. I have a Zoe Lee shirt. I have a Marinette shirt coming just as well. I have some panty and stocking things for your panty and stocking stands. Like, you guys have been complimenting me on this necklace. It's mine. I designed it myself. You guys will be able to purchase it 40% off on Black Friday weekend. I cannot wait. Hope to see you guys there at harriyannahook.com. Now let's continue on with the educational content that you guys clicked on this video for. As I mentioned in the introduction, how the term one drop rule has just kind of been bastardized. Like, so much of this shit that just goes viral on social media when somebody sees that one popular account says it and everyone runs with it. Let me go ahead and get y'all the definitions and the origins of that term right there. One drop rule. The one drop rule is a legal principle of racial classification that was prominent in the 20th century United States. It asserted that any person with even one ancestor of black ancestry is considered black. If you were white, you were free. If you were black, you were enslaved. Simple. However, this seemingly simple social order soon became complicated by the rampant increase of out-migration, the mixing of the races. The lines between white and black, free and enslaved, became more and more blurred. Even though mixing was extensive and extremely common, from the beginning it was always discouraged. For example, in 1630, only 11 years after the first enslaved Africans arrived to Virginia, colonist Hugh Davis was sentenced to soundly whispering before an assembly of Negroes and others abusing himself in dishonor of God and shaming of Christianity by defilling his body with and lying with a Negro. Any white person, male or female, suspected of interracial sexual contact was publicly punished. Racial mixing posed as a number of potential problems. At a time where blacks far outnumber whites, whites were afraid of losing control over the enslaved population. While legally, many mixed-race individuals were considered white in many states at various points in time, socially, most whites regarded anyone with black ancestry as black. But what really lies beneath the physical fears of their psychological ones? In order to maintain white supremacy, whiteness had to remain pure. While anxieties about racial mixing were rooted in eugenics and scientific racism, both supported that the white race was the superior race, that physical and mental traits were tied to heredity, and that racial mixing does not only lower human quality, but further threatens the survival of the white race. Within the framework, blackness was considered contaminated, one poison enough to taint and further cripple an entire gene pool. As will become clear, the one drop rule will be critical not only in the defense of the white race, but in the concentration of white power. But as the one drop rule goes on, it says anyone with African ancestry, but it's not just limited to African, but indigenous and Asian just as well. You know, basically being that said race, right? Mainly when people bring up one drop rule because it originated with black people, it also did apply to other people of color just as well. But usually when people bring up the instance of one drop rule, this is the group that they are referring to. The one drop rule was not simple because it wasn't them caring about blackness in a good way with them creating this. It was just used as another way to discriminate. And the reason why it was used to discriminate is because it was seen as a bad thing to have blackness in your bloodline. Like, if you was white and had some kind of color in your bloodline, it didn't even matter if it was black. They discriminated against people who was part indigenous and part Asian too. But I did hear more about this happening with indigenous peoples in the United States. Not indigenous people, white people who had indigenous ancestry in their bloodline. But like, don't tell nobody that shit in the past. Like in the early 1900s and even the mid 1900s, because if they find out that you was white but you got some kind of color in your bloodline, they're not going to sit by you. The one drop rule was just white people continuing to think that black people are dirty because their skin isn't pale, and they thought anyone of some kind of African ancestry wasn't pure. And then also another thing, I'm telling y'all, so many of the issues that we have can always be date back to slavery, because I remember I was watching 12 Years a Slave, and it was Lupita Nyong'o's character. That is a watch once movie and never again. But I remember she basically was trying to get some soap because, like, you know, she stank. Like, you know, slaves did not have access to bathing themselves as much as, like, you know, the white people did and whatnot. And it just kind of made me think about how white people would say that black people were dirty and saying that black people stank or whatnot. But I was like, y'all are not giving them the sources to bathe themselves. Y'all are not allowing them to bathe themselves because you want them to do all this shit for you. But that just is one of the reasons that contributes to this entire thing about how white people think black people are nasty and dirty, and that they just are gonna get infected with something if they touch them. Because it also just goes back to color biases, where people just associate things that are of darker color to be with bad things, like how people think white cats are pure and black cats are evil. People tend to think that people of darker skin are nasty and that they're dirty, or that their skin color will rub off on something. Because I remember I read this article one time about a woman talking about this white woman wouldn't even let her sit in the chair because she thought that her blackness was dirty and it was gonna rub off on it. Like, it's actually that fucking sad. Like, I'm not even joking. White people did not want much contact with black people because they thought they were so dirty that's why, like, part of the reason why black people and white people were not allowed to swim in the same pools together at one part in history. Because white people thought they would catch something if they got in the same water as black people. And if you are familiar with the old Hollywood actress named Dorothy Dandridge, there's just been this ongoing debate on if it were true or not if she dipped her toe in the swimming pool and it was drained afterwards. And I'm going to read to you guys a bit about that debate right there. The first thing we note is that, in true urban legend fashion, this story also been told about multiple other black entertainers who worked clubs and showrooms on the Vegas Strip. We came to the shows dressed in costume because there were no dressing rooms for blacks, said Claude Trainer, leader of the Trainers, a singing group that continued to perform in Los Angeles and Atlantic City after 50 years. Between acts, we were told to go out and wait by the pool, but we couldn't go to the pool. Harry Belafonte once even went swimming with his kids at the pool where they worked, and the next day they shut down the pool, drained it, and cleaned it. While Louis Armstrong, Nat King Cole, and Ella Fitzgerald headlined on the Strip, they slipped through the stage doors or kitchen doors and leave the same way after taking their bows. Unable to rent rooms at white-only hotels, they retreated to board houses on the West Side, famous or not. They couldn't try on clothes at white-owned stores. If you tried something on, they made you buy it, one West Sider recalled. Another local tried of the day, Sammy Davis Jr., took a dip in a white-only swimming pool at the New Frontier. Afterwards, the manager drained the pool. At this point in our narrative, the best we can say is that the pool draining tale may or not be true, but it may or may not have involved someone other than Dorothy Dandridge. So let's turn our attention to why it supposedly happened. What reflected in many tellings of this tale, including the HBO film about Dorothy Dandridge referenced above, it is the implication that even a small portion of a black person's body touching the water of a whites-only swimming pool was considered to have so thoroughly contaminated the water as to require a complete removal and replacement. Let white swimmers flee in disgust. The first thought that crossed my head was that powerful scene in introducing Dorothy Dandridge, the HBO film about the actress' life. In the scene, Dandridge, played by Halle Berry, walked past a swimming pool after being told she couldn't get in. Instead of being defeated, she defiantly dipped her toe in the water and kicked it around. At the very next scene, however, the pool is being drained and cleaned by black workers as Dandridge watched from her hotel room. Apparently, even dipping a toe in the water was too much for the hotel's white patrons, who complained. Okay, this is just a little sidebar. We are not over-exaggerating when we say everything is racist. Like, the history of swimming pools is racist, y'all. Duh! that being said, white people did not want anything to do with black people, you know, touching them. Because I remember, you know, in the medical field, white people would request, you know, the white doctors. And then if a black doctor was assigned to them, they would just sit there and just, you know, not get the help they need because they don't want a black person touching them and helping them. Like, it's just, that being said, white people wanted nothing to do with black people that had to do with them touching them or much of anything. Like, it's just so bizarre to me how, like, they think that even, like, the touch of them will infect them. Like, they think black people would contaminate them. I'm not trying to say nothing, but y'all was the ones out here spreading smallpox, but okay. Like, I'm telling you, people be thinking that we are over exaggerating racism, especially racism towards black people in America. Baby, America is literally built off of racism towards not just blacks, but indigenous and Asian people just as well. Like, are y'all not smart? Like, that's just something that's just kind of like basic social studies that you would know. Like, I'm really starting to think a lot of y'all didn't pay attention to social studies class. It just goes to show you that black people were hated so much in the past, and they still are very much hated today. Like, we know this isn't, you know, everyone knows there are still a whole bunch of people out here that don't see black people as equal. They still see black people as dirty. But they saw that, like, if you had any little bit of African ancestry in you, you were no longer worthy. And I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous, but the one drop rule does not apply to biracial people. Specifically, biracial people who are half black and have prominent black features. Meaning that if you look at them, you can tell that there is blackness there. And this is my last time bringing this to attention on my channel, simply because there's no point in trying to overly explain to people who don't want to read a damn book or look shit up. Sidebar, we have too many free sources out here for y'all to continue to be this clueless about discourse that you see on Twitter. Just way too many. Way too many. But back to Encanto. If you want to say that Dolores Madrigal isn't a black woman, or she is, that's just completely up to you. I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody who they can and can't say is black if a biracial person is, you know, visibly black, okay? You're not about to sit here and tell me, somebody who resembles Dolores, that I am not black. But people technically are not wrong for calling Dolores half black, because she is indeed a half black woman. We can't erase that part of her because she looks like it. And also, the one drop rule does not apply to Dolores because her daddy, Felix, is a black man. She is a whole half black person. Like, that man, dark skin. He has the wide nose, the big lips, the kinky hair. That girl is a whole half. And Dolores physically looks like a black woman. Like, I may be darker than her, but many black women who aren't biracial look like that. Like I said, that's part of the reason why I'm just so over the biracial debate, because it's just gotten to the point where y'all think a person with two black parents isn't black because they don't look black enough to you. And I really hope you guys know that if y'all actually did your damn research, again, this video really needs to be called Do Your Damn Research. But if you actually did look up all the countries in Africa, you would see that so many of the Africans do not look the same. Africans that are in Ghana do not look the same as Africans that are in Nigeria. Like, not everyone's gonna look the same, especially like when it comes to Asia. Because I remember I had referred to an Indian person as Asian, and somebody was like, they're not Asian, they're Indian. And I was like, yes, they are. They're just in another part of the country. They're still Asian. Like, they may not look like East Asians, but they're still Asian. Like, I honestly blame our American school system, and I don't even think it's an American school system. I think this is a school system that is like universal on the Western Hemisphere, not the Western Hemisphere, worldwide. Why so many of us just kind of lack basic knowledge about the concept of race, because they're not teaching it to us. But it's just really jarring how y'all would go on and say, this isn't right, this isn't correct, because you saw somebody on the internet talking about it and didn't bother to see if they blacked up the claim or not. Like, I remember when y'all was over here saying Raymond Simone was biracial, and no, she's just light-skinned. Same with Storm Reed. Like, there's a lot of black people out here that have two black parents, and they come out lighter than both of them. Like I said, y'all are not about to sit here and say black people with albinism are not black, because they sure are. The one drop was not meant as this, oh, this person is 1/8 black, so they're an honorable member of the black community. No! I wish y'all would understand that a person being 1/4 or 1/8 black is not the same as somebody being half black. That's just being biracial. That's not one drop. The one drop rule was not about, oh, this person is black because they have this kind of ancestry in them, we have to claim them as our own. No, the one drop rule was used to discriminate. Okay? White people wanted nothing to do with anyone that had any kind of African ancestry in their bloodline. Go look up Jim Crow laws. Because blackness in the past, and now still to a certain extent, was seen as something foul. And if you had that within you, people wanted to strip you of your rights because you weren't, air quote, a pure white person. And while I think it's a good thing that we are having more discussions on social media about race and numerous other social issues, it has led to people believing that they don't have to go up and look up things on their own and know. And I feel like that's part of the reason why so many people choose to leave the left and no, don't do that, because it's just simply go and do your research, because if you do that, a lot of the stuff would be more reasonable, more understandable, and it won't be bastardized. Because it reminded me of that entire thing that I mentioned in my Cheetah Girls video that y'all should watch, because I worked my ass off on that one. But this person on Twitter had a whole bunch of people thinking that Dorinda, y'all know Dorinda, the white girl in the Cheetah Girls movie, wasn't in the Cheetah Girls books because she said so. Because I remember she was like, Dorinda was a white girl that they put in the movie, and she replaced Aquanet's sister. And no, because that was very much foul. Because you didn't even have to read the Cheetah Girls books to know this. You could have just did it with a simple Google search with the correct wording, and it would have told you that yes, Dorinda was in the book, and 2, she was half black. And the sad thing about this is because that Twitter post was so popular that it spread over to other websites like Instagram, because I saw that on Instagram. That was before I even had Twitter, which led to more people not wanting to looking it up and believing it. And that just made it so much harder for it to be debunked. Similar to how the word Karen and woke have been bastardized to the point where you have to deal with people that do not want to accept that this does not mean this. That is not what Karen and that is not what woke means, with sources to back up the claims of what those words mean. And these niggas will still sit here and tell you that you are wrong. Long story short, if you see a term on social media being used, just do your research on it, please, okay? Okay. Don't go and try to change the meaning to your liking. That's just not how it works. The only way you can do that shit is if you made up a word. Cause and a lot of y'all did not make up the word one drop rule. So yeah, that was something, okay? I got really irritated because I was talking to a lot of my good mutuals, and we were just talking about how a lot of people really don't know what one drop actually means. And like I said, it's just not just the American school system, but it's the school systems everywhere really just have failed us on the subject of race. It's actually sad how so many of us don't get to learn about proper, education when it comes to social issues until we go off to college, because these things aren't offered in K-12 or, primary school until we go off to university, we go off to college if you're in America, and we're talking about wow, why didn't I know this shit? Why didn't I learn much of any of this? Because I remember I've always seen pictures of blackface, because like I said, I would learn about watching the History Channel and this and the third. But college, my freshman year of college, was the first time I ever really saw what actually happens in menstrual souls and whatnot, and it was just terrifying. I was just like, yeah, the school systems really try to make it look like American history isn't as dark and terrifying as it actually is, because it reminded me of that entire thing. I was dying when I saw this, mainly because the person was right, where people were trying to say shit about how it's not scientifically proven that black people can be mermaids, and somebody was like, why y'all trying to say black people can't be mermaids, but y'all threw all them damn black people, slaves to be exact, up in the water? It's just like, there's a lot of things that they will not tell y'all about the actual dark history of how racist this world is to not just black people, but people of color in general. But when you actually sit here and learn about this stuff, you just kind of feel like you've been lied to. Like, as they were talking about, oh, slavery did a good thing because it created jobs in America. Baby, no, don't say that. Don't lie. Don't try to cover it up and act like this is a good thing. But I'm just talking at this point. I'm just talking. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. I would deeply appreciate it because my ass is stressed out. And the YouTube algorithm is just not messing with me. But that's alright. That's okay. Because I cannot wait for Disney-cember. Disney-cember is going to be something this year, okay? Love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget my Patreon, Ko-fi, all of that stuff linked down below. Follow me on everything at Harryanna, H-A-R-R-I, right? And an A. Don't forget Black Friday, harriyannahook.com. Be there. Alright. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a good night.
Puff girls will just blow your mind. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA, the Powerpuff girls are just here to stay.